Is it a good idea to get a Maschine MK3 as a beginner and use it as your main platform to learn beat making and music production? Or are you better off with something else, maybe something cheaper or something simpler, or maybe a more traditional DAW? In this video, I'll give you my 2 cents on this subject. Let's get into it. So I got this comment from a subscriber on one of my videos. The comment was posted by Northside Nards, and the question was, would you recommend buying the MK3 as a beginner producer on a budget? I've been making beats for like 3 months and want to get more serious with it. Don't really have much knowledge of music theory, and I enjoy sampling melodies way more than playing them. So I think it might be a better investment than a cheaper sampler and a keyboard. So first of all, a couple of disclaimers. First one, I was a beginner a long time ago, so it's kind of hard for me to imagine how a beginner feels like when they're in front of an MK3. I started using Fruity Loops way back in the day when it was still called Fruity Loops. Then I learned to use Ableton Live, and then I got the Maschine MK1, which was back in 2010. Disclaimer number 2, you can always get what you feel is more fun and more exciting to you, but I still have some points for you to consider. So there are pros and cons to the Maschine MK3 from the beginner perspective. The pros are that it's sort of simplified and has less features than most traditional DAWs, or even stuff like the new MPC generation. But then if you're a beginner, one of the cons of the Maschine MK3 is the lack of visual representation of some important music production concepts. I'm talking about stuff like EQs, filters, envelopes. They are not represented visually the same way they are represented in most DAWs. I think having these concepts represented visually makes them much easier to comprehend for beginners. And also, you need to consider what would be your approach to production. Do you want to just play with an expensive toy, such as the Maschine MK3, and just make beats? Or do you actually want to start from the ground up and learn how to produce music? And of course, don't get me wrong, the Maschine is amazing. It's super fun and it's a super nice platform to make beats on. It's incredible, I love it. However, the main thing about the MK3 is the hardware workflow, so making the most out of the controller and not really looking at the computer screen. If you're gonna be looking at the computer display, then the MK3 would be a bit of a waste of money. Maybe you're better off with the Maschine Micro. And also the idea that if you're sampling, you don't need music theory, I think this is definitely wrong. Because the moment you wanna add something else to your sampled beat, like a melody or a bass line, you will need to know at least some basic theory, regardless of what platform you're using. But a little theory definitely goes a long way. So what gear would I recommend for a beginner? A safe buy would be the Native Instruments Complete Control M32. It's a high quality keyboard and it's really affordable. It comes with a great software bundle to get you started making music. You have the Maschine Essentials and you get Ableton Live Lite, which is also more of a traditional DAW and maybe a better way to start your journey in music production. And having a keyboard is always useful. And if you decide to buy the MK3 later on, you can just add it to your setup. Your old keyboard won't become redundant. And if you want more of those high quality Native Instrument sounds, you can definitely get a subscription to Complete Now for $9.99 a month. And so this is a very small investment for you to get started and still have very high quality tools at your disposal. In terms of a DAW, the Ableton Live version that comes with the Complete Control M32 is a very cut down version, Ableton Live Lite. You can upgrade it to Ableton Live Intro, which has a bit more stuff to get a full production, and other DAWs which would be very appropriate for this would be of course FL Studio and maybe Reason, which has a lot of stuff and is also beginner friendly. So I think all these options are good for starting your journey in music production before investing in expensive toys like the Maschine MK3. I would definitely like to hear from you guys, and especially from the beginners among you. What tools are you starting your music production journey with? What did you buy and how is it going? Did you start with the MK3? Was the learning curve steep? And yeah, Let me know down in the comments, and I hope this video was useful, and I will see you in the next one.